So I am just about to interview the one and only Simon Zucchi. Now Simon is very well known around the UK for having created PIN, the Property Investors Network. And the idea was that literally anybody in the UK could drive to one of these networking meetings around the topic of property within half an hour's drive. Well, with Zoom now, anybody can join any of the meetings, doesn't matter where you are. I'll tell you one thing, I've known Simon for quite a few years. His mindset around wealth creation, I tell you, I am going to have so much fun. But not only that, I'm going to ask him, what would he be investing in right now? What kind of property strategy if he were starting out from fresh? So I'm really looking forward to this. So let's go. So let's go in. My name is Marcus de Maria and this is the Success Series. Today my guest is Simon Zucchi, the founder of the Property Investors Network, PIN, which is the biggest property training and networking organization in the entire UK. Now, adding to his list of very impressive achievements, which includes becoming a millionaire through property, Simon is also a best-selling author of his book, Property Magic. Today, we've invited him in to discuss his personal journey to property riches, which began 25 years ago. Using none of his own money, I want to hear about that, Simon devised a strategy to purchase his first property whilst living in that same property for free. I also want to hear about that. By the age of 32, Simon became financially independent, no longer needing to work, and is now dedicating his life to educating and inspiring others to do the same. Everybody, welcome Simon Zucchi.
Thank you Marcus. Hello, everyone.
Hi. Thank you for your time. Listen, I want to go back to the very beginning. Take us back to 1995. Listen, you're a recent graduate. You're in debt.
Yes.
Yet you buy your first house. What made you think that was the perfect time to invest in property?
Well, so here was the thing. So I've been a student at Birmingham University, great university, came out in 1994 with a combined honours degree in manufacturing, engineering and business studies. And I expected to walk into a great graduate job. Both my sisters were older, worked for blue chip companies, and I thought I'd do the same. And the reality is it wasn't a great time to be doing engineering, to be fair. But also, if I'm perfectly honest here, Marcus, I wanted a great job, but I just didn't put in enough time or effort. I did 7 application forms, and you must remember this was the day when it was, paper applications, none of this online stuff. There were pages and pages long. You had to say, describe a time when you solved a difficult team challenge. You think, oh my God, I've never done that. You have to make stuff up. It's got to sound good. It's got to be neat handwriting. And doing a combined honours degree with 2 dissertations, I just didn't spend enough time doing it. And so it's a great lesson for anyone who wants to be successful in business generally, is that you have to really commit to things and you have to make a decision and just go for it. Because I didn't fully commit to it. I kind of expected it to happen. And I mention that because I meet many people who want to invest in property, want to set their own business, but they don't take the necessary action. These things are not easy. They're not automatic. You need to make a decision, then take the necessary action. So what happened was I graduated, didn't have a job. I went to London, did some telesales for a couple of months. That was a bit difficult. Worked in Hamleys selling magic, which was good fun, but didn't pay much. Finally came back to Birmingham, where I still had a student house and my girlfriend was there in Birmingham as well. And I thought, I've got to take this seriously. So I then applied for 60 jobs. I got a telesales just to show I was employable and frankly to earn some money. And I applied for 60 graduate jobs. And by taking massive action, I got 7 first stage interviews, 4 second stage, and then finally 2 job offers. And one of the job offers was Cadbury's. And I'd applied to Cadbury's the year before and didn't even get an interview. But I thought, no, that's one of the companies I want to work for. So I applied again. And actually in my interview, they said, oh, it looks like you applied last time. Why'd you apply again? I said, well, I really want to work here. And that was another lesson about persistence. Sometimes people do something, it doesn't work straight away, they give up. And if you want to be
interesting. So they said no to you, but you just said, I'm just going to apply again.
Absolutely. Well, they didn't even say no. It's just, we're not going to ask you for interview. Well, that's pretty much a no, right?
Wow.
So I just thought, well, I want to apply there. And I like the company and the product, obviously. And I finally ended up getting a job there. So just goes to show, guys, no doesn't mean no never. It just means no, not now.
No.
And then as soon as I got that job offer, I was able to buy a property. and I got a 95% mortgage. The problem was I didn't have the 5% deposit. Now this was a property for 48,500, so it wasn't
5%. 5%. That's nice.
5% deposit.
But you didn't even have the money for that.
I didn't have the money for that. I didn't have the money for legals. I didn't have the money to move. I didn't have anything. Right. So what most people do to get on the property ladder is they often get help from parents. And I spoke to my parents. They'd retired a few years before. They were living in the south of France, very nice, but they were kind of living on a pension. They didn't have any spare cash. But my mother said, why don't you speak to your grandmother? Because my grandmother just sold a house and she had moved in with my parents. She had some money in the bank. Now, I can probably say this because it applies to me. My grandmother's Scottish, which means I'm actually part Scottish as well, right? And so my grandmother said, yeah, I'll help you, but I'm not going to give you the money. I'll lend you the money. Okay. She wanted to help her grandson, but she didn't want to make it a handout. So I borrowed the money, paid her interest more than she was getting in the bank. So she was really happy. And that's how I got my first house. And the way I lived for free was I got a house bigger than I needed. We got a 2 up, 2 down, a two bedroom, 2 reception. And it was in the student area just next to Birmingham University. And the downstairs reception you make into a bedroom. So one of my friends lived there. One of my friends was upstairs. And so 3 of us lived in this house. And the rent they paid pretty much paid the mortgage and paid the bill. So I kind of lived for free.
That is awesome. Where did you learn this from? I mean, like you just came up with this, or?
Well, none of my family had ever invested before. And to be honest, I wasn't some sort of genius. I just wanted to get a house and I found a way of doing it. And actually, nice. I don't think I was even smart enough to work out that I can live for free. It's just, I didn't want to live on my own. I bought a little house and I had some friends who were there and I'd always lived with other people. I thought, hey, do you want to come and live with me? I said, yeah, great. And I worked out that, hang on, I'm kind of living here free. So I'd love to say it was some master plan I came up with, but it kind of just happened.
I think it just proves, doesn't it, that regardless of a person's situation, success is possible.
Absolutely. It comes to making a decision though, Marcus. You got to put a stake in the ground.
Absolutely.
And, it frustrates me. I do lots of free training. We do lots of webinars. We do lots of YouTube stuff. And I was on a webinar the other day and I was talking about something and someone said, oh, I can't do this because I've got no money and I don't know anyone with money. Well, there's an interesting observation and that might be the case. Maybe that's absolutely true. But I think a lot of it's mindset. And I was saying, look, if you learn how to find really good property deals, that's the hardest thing. Actually, I believe there's so much money out there. There are people who've got money, but they don't have time or knowledge or an inclination to find deals. So if you find, even if you've got no money at all, you can find the deal and then bring the money in. And that's an important concept people need to understand. People think you need everything. You don't. It's what do you have? What are you good at? And what do other people lack? And you can help those people. And for most people,
that's nice. So focusing on what do you have and seeing if it complements somebody else. Okay, now let's fast forward then to 2003. So quite a few years later, you established PIN, Property Investors Network, to support and educate people on their property investment journey. So what educational support, if any, did you lack on your journey to success? And why do you feel that this education is so important?
Well, I think education is so important. Most people, they go to school and they learn and they conceptually know that maybe further education is good, but for them that's college or university. And then they get a job. And that's what I did. I've always been entrepreneurial from a young age, but I thought, right, I'm going to get a really good job and I'm going to work my way up through it and that's it. And I might have some side business, but I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur per se. But the problem is traditional school doesn't teach you about money, doesn't teach you about life, doesn't teach you about business. It teaches you to get a job. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. People need to get jobs. But the problem is the education system is over 150 years old in the UK and teaches people how to get a job in a shop or a factory or an office and doesn't teach you the life skills about managing money, looking after it. And God, I've made some mistakes and I wish I had known. I come from a fairly middle-class family. My dad was a GP. But you know what? And we had a reasonable life. I wouldn't say life was hard. People had much tougher lives. But I've had times when I've had no money at all. When I graduated university as a student, it was tough, right? But actually, I realized that although I'd done quite well, and what actually got me into property, I think when I was a student, I visited my first landlord. Me and my friends found a house in Surrey to live, and we had to go to the landlord's house on a very posh road in Edgbaston called Farquhar Road, very, very posh.
Lord Farquhar, yes.
Farquhar Road, yes, very posh. This huge house, and we're sitting in his big study, And I asked the guy, I said, I hope you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a living? Because it was a nice big house, right? He said, well, I used to be a solicitor. And solicitors are smart, they're well paid, right? But he said, now I'm just a full-time landlord. And I didn't really know what that meant. But later that year, he popped around to the house a few times, sort things out. And I had a cup of tea with him one evening when he came round. And I said to him, you seem to be doing all right. And he shared with me the concept of, well, you buy a house and the cost of owning that house are less than you can get in rent. And I thought, that's quite clever. And my family, my sisters, they had their own homes. They didn't have investments, they had their own homes. So aspirational in the UK is to own your own home. So I had that aspiration. And when I saw my tenants, my friends covering my costs, I thought, wow, this is clever. And then a couple of years later, I kind of wanted to move out the student area and I wanted to move a bit closer to work in Cadbury's, which is the next kind of suburb to Selly Oak where I was living. And so I bought another house, but instead of selling the first one, which is what most people do, I had enough savings from my job and I had a part-time business running student nightclub events in Birmingham, which was a really good fun business. And I had money. So I put a 30% deposit into my second house because I had the money. Right? My first one was no money down. My second one, I put the money in and I moved to that and I rented out my first house. And an amazing thing happened. And I worried, I thought, well, what happens if the tenants don't pay? What about bills and maintenance? And actually, the vast majority of things I was worried about never happened. It was all fear in my head. And when that first rent came in that first month, and I worked out that that's more than my mortgage and my insurance and the costs, I thought, I've got money and I haven't really had to do any work for this, whereas I had to go to work to Cadbury's and deliver some value for them to pay me. Whereas my property just paid me. And the next month, the same thing, next month. And this money started to build up. So I started to buy a few more. And by 2001, I hadn't replaced my income, but I had enough to leave Cadbury's. I knew it worked. So I left Cadbury's. And by 2003, I'd completely replaced my income. And the thing was, Marcus, I realized that I'd done okay, but I realized I'd made some stupid mistakes. You know,
because you were just doing it by yourself, right?
Yeah, I was doing it on my own, and you know, there's a lot of properties common sense, but it's amazing how uncommon common sense is. Yeah. And I'd done some silly things, and I could have made a lot more money. And actually, in 2002, a leaflet came through my door saying, hey, do you want to be a property millionaire? It's one of these free seminars, right? And I'd never even known there were property, and I don't think there were many property training things until about early 2000s. And a leaflet came through, and I was very much into personal development. I was on the Nightingale Conant, mate. I was buying all their audio programs. So I think that's how they got hold of me, probably. So I was into personal development and investing in myself. And this leaflet came through, and I went to this 2-hour seminar in Birmingham. And sure enough, some of the stuff I knew, but they talked about things that I didn't know. And I thought, wow, if I've learned this on a free seminar in 2 hours, what would I learn if I did 3 days with these people? So I went down to London with my partner at the time, relationship partner, and did this course. And it was brilliant. And I learned stuff I didn't know. And I came off the course and I took action. I'm always an action taker. I bought a property, again, with none of my own money, using credit cards. Don't do that at home, kids, by the way.
Unless you know what you're doing, definitely.
You've got to be careful, but it worked for me. It was a no money down deal. We paid the card, we bought it below market value, added value, refinanced, paid off the card. So it was a no money down deal. But yet what I noticed was the course was great. I loved the environment. But when I came off that, when I was on my own, very soon my motivation came down and I felt on my own again. So by the time I got to 2003, I thought, look, I need to get other people around me. And I know you and I have both trained with Tony Robbins. And in Tony Robbins in 2000, I learned all about the importance of environment, getting like-minded people around you and support you and encourage you. And I thought that's what I was lacking. So I went online to see if there's some sort of group I could join. And back then there was nothing.
Nothing,
so well, I'll start it up. So I started the very first property networking in the entire country for property investors in 2003. I called it, and it was a small group of people at a hotel, and the word kind of spread. And now we have 50 meetings around the country every month.
So all around the country, 50. So can anybody just go to their local one? Is that how
absolutely.
It works?
And that my vision was to have a meeting within half an hour travel of pretty much everyone. And we pretty much achieved that. So 50, we got one in Northern Ireland, 2 in Scotland, a few in South Wales, and the rest are in England. But, you know, unless you live in the Outer Hebrides or something, within a reasonable amount of time, you can get to a meeting. Now, at the moment, as we record this, they're all online. So we're getting a lot of international investors who want to invest in the UK attending those meetings. And it's interesting.
And they might have money. I'm just trying to, because of what you said before. So you might have the knowledge, they have the money, and boom, you can do something together. I don't know.
They want people on the ground who can go and find great deals and absolutely work together. So, in fact, virtual has, although slightly lower numbers of people than physical, because people do like physical connection. And interesting, we've also maintained, we charge £20 for a meeting, which is what we do when it's physical. A lot of people said, oh, yeah, it's online. Why do you make it free? And we said, well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's the same value you get. We have great speakers. We're not selling something. We give you great value in training. Secondly, you don't have the cost or time of travel, so it's nice and convenient for you. But thirdly, when things are free, very often people don't value them. And by charging £20, guess what? We get a higher quality of person coming along, the people who you want to network and want to connect with. If someone's not prepared to spend £20 on their own personal development, they're really probably not going to be the person you want to work with. So,
but I do have to ask you a question, okay? So because I'm asked this question, if I'm making money from trading and investing, why am I teaching people? Yes. What would your response be to people who ask the same question?
Fantastic answer. Anyone who asks you that question, they're not financially independent, right? Because you know this, Marcus, when you have enough money, right? When you have the money you need, and by the way, life expectancy we always want more money. Expectancies grow, right? Expectations grow, rather. But when you are financially independent, when you have all the money you need, you don't do things necessarily because you need to make money. You do things because you want to do things. You know, I have a number of businesses. I've got my property portfolio, I've got my training business, I've got Crowd Property, which is a multi-million pound business. I never have to work again. I would go absolutely crazy if I stopped. If I go on holiday, I get twitchy after a few days because I'm not doing anything, right?
Yeah, you love it.
And going back to Tony Robbins, he talks about to be fully self-actualized, you have to feel like you're growing and contributing. And I know how many people, it's a bit of a cliche, but I know because people tell me how many people's lives I've been able to change because of the information we get. Because we're not taught this stuff in school. We don't learn from family and friends. You can go and find someone who's been successful. You can pay them. And if you pay attention. And you can learn in a very short amount of time what might take them decades to learn. And you can get their success very, very quickly, far quicker than they did it. It took me 8 years to fully replace my income. Some of my students do it in 8 months because they're following a system, a process. They haven't had to work.
They're not doing what you had to do, which is just to, oh no, don't do that. So it's sometimes about telling people what to do, but also what not to do.
And that's just as important, right? Just as important. Yeah. And when you're investing in stocks and shares, in business, in property, you can lose money if you make mistakes. Yeah. So actually, by educating yourself and learning how to do it properly, will not only save you a huge amount of time, it will save you making some of the expensive mistakes you would otherwise make. And I think good education will more than pay for that. A bit like when you use an accountant. A good accountant, you pay them fees, but they'll save you more in tax than you pay them in fees.
For sure.
Education will make you more money than you pay on the training, as long as you take action. And so the final point is, when people have paid, they pay more attention. I know because we give a lot of information away for free, and when people haven't paid, they don't value it, they don't take action. And so when people are paid, they're more focused and they're more likely to get results.
I can tell that it's like a mission, that you're on a mission to help people. It's wonderful. Yeah. So the pin.
I get paid very well for it as well. Don't get me wrong, but I get paid because we
get. But that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. We have a huge mission. Our mission is to help as many people around the world create financial independence for themselves and their families through financial education. Yeah. But it's a business, and it's wonderful. It's such a win-win. Coming back to PIN, final point on that, and then we'll move on. The Property Investors Network. Is it centered around, is it fair to say, creating the right environment, mindset?
Yeah, so there are 3 elements. There's knowledge.
But what I want to know is that how big of an impact did your environment and your mindset towards wealth have on your success? Because a lot of people have I'd like to talk about it. What do you think people's perception is about wealth?
I think people are very much influenced about their upbringing and the environment they had around them. So my upbringing was, I'm fairly middle class. My dad, as I say, was a doctor. My expectation was, I'm probably going to go to university. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't like school, by the way. Probably going to have to go to university. I'm probably going to get a good job, and that's what I'm going to do. And that was my expectation. Whereas, unfortunately, many people in the UK, we have this amazing benefit system that supports people. We have free education, free healthcare, free money if you're on benefits. But there are generations of kids who are born into that. And their expectation is that's what life is about for them. And I think that's tragic. And actually, one of my passions is wanting to show kids that actually that just your past doesn't equal your future, right? Another Tony Robbins saying, we can decide the future we have, but we need to take responsibility for our future. Don't expect a hand up from anyone. Don't blame anyone else. It's about you making a decision and you making your future. And there's so many people I've seen who come from absolutely nothing and have been self-made millionaires.
But can you change your environment? I mean, if you're born in a certain way and you're thinking in a certain way, is it easy? Is it difficult?
I don't think it's easy. I think it makes a conscious decision to do it. First of all, you've got to be aware of it. A lot of people they don't know because they think that's what life is. So the first
number one, right, is awareness. Just being aware. That's
yeah. So being aware is the first thing. Then making a conscious decision. Actually, I'm not happy with this. I want more than this. I can do better. And getting that self-belief is really difficult as well, because all the people around you, we tend to be like the people around us. But actually, maybe, and I actually said this to someone the other day, and I said, look, tough love here. If you don't have any money and you don't think anyone around you's got money, maybe you need to start spending time with different people.
Ooh, so changing your environment.
Deliberately actually change. And look, if the people around you are people you love, I'm not saying you can throw your family away, but you could maybe seek out some other people who maybe you could spend a bit of time with. Like going to a network meeting, for example, there are people there who are there because they want to improve themselves. I'm a huge fan of personal development, as you are. And I like going to those events. And guess what? Whenever I go to an event, and I've not been physically for a while, obviously, when I go to a physical event, I always will pay more to go VIP because I want to put myself in the area with the other people who've paid more and gone for it, because that's the kind of person I want to mix with. So that's the kind of thing you can do. Now, if you have no money, okay, what can you do to change your mindset? Well, there's so much free stuff. You can listen to great podcasts. You can watch videos like this, hopefully inspiring. You can listen to books on Audible about successful people who've done phenomenal things. And every successful person has gone through challenges, adversity. They've never got it all right the first time. They've had challenges, they've made mistakes, but the difference is they've got up, they've brushed themselves down, they've learned from the mistakes, and they've gone and done bigger and better things. Too many people in this world want instant gratification. If it doesn't work straight away, that doesn't work, I go to something else. And I think persistence and patience is really important skill for everyone to have if they want to be successful.
Very nice. Now, obviously, with the global pandemic, there's a possibility of a no-deal Brexit. By the time people read this, listen to this, who knows? People are learning that they can't only depend on their monthly income, that they might need to explore different revenue streams. What would your advice be to someone who's considering this? Yeah,
so I think a big lesson from 2020, when many people were put on furlough, and they might be in a really good job, really comfortable, suddenly was actually my job might be at risk. And I think a lot of people realize that if you have one source of income, i.e. your job, or you might have a great business. How many businesses can be devastated by what's happened? And no one could have predicted this, right? So I think it was a real wake-up call for many people. One stream of income is not enough. And so I think a multiple stream of income is a good idea. And that might be from property, it might be from business, it might be from the stock market, it might be crypto, whatever you want it to be. But I think the point is that actually, rather than just making an investment where you get capital appreciation, you want to make an investment where you can actually get income coming in.
Right. And ideally, so not just buying an asset for it to grow, but it might grow as well, by the way.
And that's the bonus. But invest the income. Because if you can replace your income, and I see property investing, for an example, if you do it right, it's a bit like buying yourself a little cash machine. A cash machine at the end of the month gives you some money. And if you have enough of these cash machines, you get to the point where you can replace your income. Now, you might love what you do, and I hope, many people are trapped in their job.
Sorry. What you're not saying is buy one big house and get, but maybe lots of little ones?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying a big house can be a cash machine. It might be a big cash machine.
Okay, it can be. Okay.
if you're new, probably buying a big project is probably not the best idea. You need to walk before you run. Do a medium-sized project, make sure that works, because the bigger the project, the more money required, yours or someone else's, maybe the more risk. So you do need to know what you're doing, right? But you get a cash machine and it's giving you money, then you get another cash machine, another one. So if any one cash machine property doesn't work, it's okay, because you've got enough of these coming in. And then you have the choice. So in 2001, I liked Cadbury's, I liked the people, I loved the product, but I made a choice that rather than work for someone else, I wanted to do it for myself. And I had enough coming in to cover my costs, and I made that decision.
Right.
And that was a very scary, but also very liberating decision to make. And, you know, I've worked for myself for almost 20 years, and frankly, I'm probably unemployable now.
Absolutely. That is awesome. Listen, I'm a man of trading and investing. I kind of fell into that. Right now, I'm heavily invested in cryptocurrencies. Now, being a financially wealthy man yourself, what do you think of trading and investing, stocks or cryptocurrencies?
So again, I think you should diversify. I say to my property, don't have everything in property. So I invest in businesses. So there are various government schemes such as Enterprise, Seed, Enterprise Investment Scheme, and EIS, where you can invest in a business. There are lots of tax breaks. And you invest in a business not for the tax breaks, because you think it's a good business, good product, good team, etc. So I invest in a number of things. Usually businesses where I can have some input rather than just being a cash investor. I might mentor the people who are in the business and maybe have a route to market, etc. So I make those investments. I also invest in the stock market. I use very simple strategies. I like to do options in the stock market. And actually,
to get cash flow, right? That you sell options.
Absolutely. I don't want to just have. I only do things for cash flow, right? I indirectly, I invested in a platform that helps raise money for cryptocurrency and ICOs and things. So I have some Bitcoins.
And that has done so well, hasn't it? That has done really well.
Yes.
Well done there.
But I haven't actually ventured, and I've spoken to you about wanting to learn more about cryptocurrency, because I think there's an opportunity there. And actually, I have some money coming out of some investments this year, and I will be coming back to you, Marcus, because you are the expert on this, and I want to learn. And if I think what's very foolish, people hear from their mate down the pub, oh, you should buy Ethereum, you should buy crypto, and people go and do it, and they don't know what they're doing. You might as well go and start setting light to your £20 notes if you want. You know, you've got to learn how to do. So, and whenever I want to learn something, I come and find the person who's the best I know, who's not only been successful themselves, but they become very good at teaching. That's really important, because there are lots of people who've been very successful. I sometimes, people say to me, oh, this person's going to mentor me on property, and that's great, but if they've never taught anyone else before, if they've not got any successful students, they might be really successful. That doesn't mean they're good at transferring that knowledge.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You need to find people who've done what you want to do, but they've also become really good at teaching. And the proof is in the pudding. It's how successful are the people that they have taught.
And you have so many success stories. And I know that your most popular training at the moment is about lease options. I don't know much about it. So why lease options, and why now? And also, why do you think it's one of the most popular ways to start investing in property?
So there are many different strategies out there, and lease option is actually, I call it a strategy, but actually it's more of a tool. It's a tool that works in conjunction with every other strategy. So basically, a lease option is a way of controlling a property to get cash flow and equity growth that you don't actually own. So what that means is, the reason it's popular, you don't have to have big deposits. You don't have to have 25% deposits, which you do if you're typically buying an investment. You don't have to be able to get mortgages. So when you know how to do it, it's very accessible to anyone who wants to get into it. That's the first.
So I didn't really understand any of that. But what what you're saying is, you control the property without having to put a lot of your money down. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes. So let me give you a very simple example.
Good. That sounds really good.
So actually, Marcus, it's in the stock market, right? Someone might own an asset. They own a share. right? And you can get an option on that share. You pay them a fee, and you have the right to buy that option at a certain price. Okay, and people do that because they think the price is going to go up more than the price they can buy at, right?
It gives you either the right to buy or to sell, depending on which one.
You could do a put as well to sell, absolutely, right? So we find, for example, a landlord who might be fed up of being a landlord, they're self-managing, they don't want to do it. And we have the right to buy the property in the future. And in the meantime, we take away the hassle from them. We manage the property for them, which means, and we, instead of getting the full rent, because if they sold the property, they'd get no rent at all, right? But if they sold and put the money in the bank, they'd get no money in the bank either. So what we do, we give them a little bit of income, so they make more money than if they put it in the bank, but they haven't got any of the hassle of managing the property. So they get a sale, sometimes at the full market price, which is good. So it's really good for the owner. And by the way, it doesn't work in every circumstance. This is one of those tools that people hear about. They try and use it everywhere, and it doesn't work everywhere. You need to educate yourself to know when it's appropriate and when it's not appropriate.
Of course, yeah.
The point is, there are lots of these landlords at the moment, because for various reasons, landlords looking to sell for all sorts of reasons. So you can, when you know how, find a landlord, solve their problem. You get the cash flow by managing the property and the potential equity growth over time. You don't need a mortgage. You don't need a big deposit. That's why so many people do it. If I lost everything and I had to start again, I would absolutely do that as my core strategy.
Is that right? So okay. So that's why it's one of the most popular ways to start investing in property. You yourself, if you were to start again, you would go the lease option.
That is what I would do. Yes. However, it's not just for new people. I do them now, and I know some very experienced investors who are doing them now. Because even if you've got money to invest, why would you put that money in if you don't have to put it in? So in certain circumstances, we can do these. So whether you're new or experienced.
So you don't. So you what? Do you put any money in? You have to put a little bit in.
You have to put some money in, yeah. But actually, there are ways, because you have to do things properly through solicitors. So we get a legal contract drawn up. Maybe if there's an estate agent involved, you have to pay the agent their fee. Otherwise, they're not going to agree to something that's sold in 5 years. Okay. We can also source direct from landlords. There are agents, sourcing agents who find. So we might pay a few fees there. And sometimes the properties might need a little bit of cosmetic work, sometimes not. So I would say normally £5,000 to £10,000 you put into a deal. Now, in case you think, oh, well, I can't do that, I've not got that money. If it's a good enough deal, we have a company that I use. They are a broker. They will actually fund all of the money required for that. And you pay back over a 3-year period through the cash flow. So it can be done with no money down, if it's a good enough deal.
Right. So almost everybody could do this if they have.
Anybody could do this.
If they have the education. I think we've been saying this throughout.
Yeah.
So how can people find out about lease options particularly? I know you teach a lot of different things, but if it's the most popular way to start investing in property and you would do it, I want to know specifically about lease options.
And actually, the reason I think now is a good time with all the uncertainty in 2020 and the various tax changes for landlords owning properties in their own name, there were more and more landlords looking to do this. This is why now is such a good time. And no one knows what's going to happen, but I think a lot of people feel the property market's going to come down in 2021. Lots of landlords looking to sell, and this is great. So this is why now is such a good time. So we're actually relaunching some training. I'm actually doing we've had a very short amount of time here, and I don't want to talk all about this. There's other things to talk about. But what we'll do, we'll put a link in below this video. So look for that link, and people can go and register for some online, on-demand training with me, all about how this works. So when it works, what to look for, how to do it, how to secure it. And if you want to come do further training, great. If they don't, they're going to get loads of value from that 90-minute training anyway. So look for the link below this, and you can join up on that.
Okay, so I'll put a link below. And when's it going to be? January?
January time. Yeah. So we're going to do a couple in January. So the sooner you book, if you book now, it's going to be live. If you're watching this video later in the year, it might just be a recording.
Okay, if it's still available. Yeah, okay. That is fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, if there's like one message that you would leave somebody who's just like starting out in anything, but just to be successful, this is the success series, what would that one thing be, Simon?
Can I have a couple of things? Because I think it's hard to put it down to just one. So the first thing is, I would say, get really clear on what you want and why do you want it.
Right.
Very often,
what you want. Mm-hmm.
But what you want and why, because very often people enter into something and they don't really commit. They dabble. And if you dabble, you're not going to get the right results. So decide what you want and commit. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do something full time. You could commit to learn about cryptocurrencies. You could commit to learn about property and still do that very much part-time. But when you're doing it, you are 100% committed to it.
Okay.
So decide what you want, why you want it, and commit to it. That's the first thing. Second thing is obviously get educated. Because rather than trying to work it out yourself and figure it out, and a lot of people will say, yeah, but there's all the information on the internet, and there's a whole load of free information online.
Oh, man.
The problem with that, and I'm sure you've heard that, Marcus, the problem is, yes, there's some great information. There's also some complete rubbish out there, and you don't know what's right and what's wrong. And when you invest in yourself, and I see when you do some training, you're actually investing in yourself. When you invest in yourself, you're coming to someone who's done it, who's got the results, and they will organize that information for you in the quickest, easiest to understand way, so you don't have to spend hours and hours online and still not know what to do. Because one of the things people don't do, Mark, they don't value their time. Time is your most valuable asset. You can always earn more money. You can never get time back.
That is so true, Simon. Like every month there's more in the bank, isn't there? It just, but time, it's gone. It's gone.
Exactly. So do yourself a favor. If you want to decide you want to do crypto or property or business, find people who can teach you, invest in yourself, get the knowledge. And then the third thing is you need to take action. Obviously, knowledge alone is not enough, but you need to be patient as well. So many people are just, they live in this microwave society. They want everything now. That doesn't work. I'm going to try. And people are looking for the get rich quick. There is no such thing as get rich quick because it suggests you can make lots of money with no effort. Look, you can make lots of money and you can do it quickly, but only if you put in the time and effort.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So 3 things there. I think that's wonderful. And I agree with every single one of those because obviously we do trainings as well. And we find exactly the same. And it's the people that succeed are the ones that take those steps. So that's really, really interesting. Listen, what I'll do, Simon, well, again, thank you for your time. I know how busy you are. In fact, before we started the recording, I said, how are you? You said, I'm really busy right now. So what I'll do is I'll put the a link below.
Right.
So people, if they want to, they can take advantage of that. By the way, this training, is there a fee for it? What?
No, so the online training, we're going to give it completely free. They can come and register for that completely free. If they want to do some more, we do have an in-depth coaching program, which teaches all, and that's a paid thing. But come and do the free training to
see what it's all about. Yeah.
If it resonates with you, great. We can support you and help you get knowledge. If it's not right for you, at least you know it's not right for you and go look for something else that might work for you. Perfect.
Thank you so much again, Simon, for your time.
Thanks so much. And one final thing I'll say, Marcus, if people want go and check out the book as well, Property Magic. It's pretty simple. Get on Amazon, get on Audible, and it will really help understand a bit more about property and how you can be successful in property.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Marcus. All the best. Speak to you soon.